Is back along with Hadley Heath Manning, Independent Women's Forum Policy Director. Steve, what is wrong with this plan? A lot of people who have Medicare think it's great.
Well, it's great because it's subsidized. And if you extend it to all, that means you're going to have not only a blowout in spending, but you're going to have what most countries now have, and that is rationing. That's how they control their budgets. You just don't get the care when you need it or want it. And that's why in England, if you have diabetes, dialysis, you're above the age of 60 or 65, you're never going to get to the head of the line. We don't want rationing. That's what's wrong with this.
Yeah. Hadley, it's a push towards a single-payer system, which would be us. The single payer is the taxpayer to pay for all sorts of health care. It would, in the long run, though, create a two-tiered system where, as Steve Forbes said, people waiting in line who couldn't get what they needed, if you had means, you would find a way to pay for it privately. Do you think that Democrats realize that?
You know, I'm not sure if they realize that or not. Certainly the everyday American who hears about Medicare for all, this is the latest verbiage used to describe single payer or socialized medicine, an idea that's been around for a long time. But it's sort of now threatening to become more or less a shallow slogan rather than, you know, an actual plan, which is why I'm looking forward to the Democrats having hearings. It's an idea that we ought to examine, and certainly some of those criticisms that Steve mentioned are worth talking about, because as public support has been increasing for Medicare for all, we also see that support is very malleable, which means when people do find out some of the details, they tend to support it less. And we've seen states like Vermont and Colorado turn around and not implement single payer plans like this. So I think that's important evidence to consider.
I mean, Steve, do you really think that a hearing would change people's minds? Because people wanted Obamacare. They were convinced that even though the math didn't work out, somehow everyone was going to get care and we were going to all pay less. They had the hearing. People said, no, that's not going to happen. It went ahead. They put it into effect. It didn't happen. Then it's going away, and now they want it back. So I don't know how rational people are.
Well, what the problem is, we don't have real free markets in health care. People are getting crushed now by deductibles. Most companies now have high deductible plans. Fortunately, some of them combine it with a health savings account, so you're not left in the lurch.
Yeah.
But people are now paying in this country out of pocket for medical care today almost $400 billion a year, just about as big as the entire travel industry.
Yeah.
And so that's going to change health care and more government control. People don't believe promises anymore. They're promised you can keep your doctor and that kind of thing.
I know one promise, Hadley, that the government wants our money. Let me get your take on Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's plan to pay for her environmental agenda by taxing the wealthy. Listen to this one.
But once you get to like the tippy tops, on your 10 millionth dollar, sometimes you see tax rates as high as 60 or 70%. That doesn't mean all $10 million are taxed at an extremely high rate.
What you are talking about, just big picture, is a radical agenda.
If that's what radical means, call me a radical.
Hadley, doesn't that strike you as a fantastic idea? Tax that last dollar at 70, make it 80%, whatever it is.
Yeah, you know, she mentioned that in the mid-20th century that Americans, very high-earning Americans, face very high marginal tax rates. But the rest of the important history to know is that the effective tax rates on high earners in the mid-20th century weren't that much higher than what those Americans are paying today. So you can have a very high tax rate, and that doesn't mean that people are actually paying that rate, because, of course, we know high tax rates can discourage productivity, but they can also encourage other behaviors where people who earn a lot of money can basically manipulate their income to shield a lot of it from taxation. So I don't think this is the right solution for this plan. And ultimately,
you're saying no one's going to work for
costs.
that 10 millionth dollar if you're going to take 70% of it away. Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.